Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to quickly thank you guys for the sacrifices I feel you've made. A week of trial, parking dilemmas, start, rainstorms, loss of power, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you so much for this week and now doing the difficult task of talking and rendering some decisions about the events of July 23rd, 2017. I want to first talk very briefly about sort of the condition of the evidence that's been presented to you. The court just told you that the evidence you're allowed to consider in this case are the witnesses who testified in this room, documents that were presented, most of them displayed for you, and then any stipulations. So there was a crime lab resultant stipulation that was given. And that is the block of information you are allowed as jurors to consider. And obviously there's other things in the world, right? And those other things are things you're not allowed to consider. In fact, the court has given you an instruction that in deciding whether there's a reasonable doubt, you are specifically not allowed to use guesswork or not allowed to use speculation. What you are forced to do as jurors, because the process is one where both sides have the ability, though not the necessity, to bring evidence. You are asked to judge that evidence without guesswork or speculation. And the conversation is about, well, why can't we be together? And she basically says, well, we agreed to get our shit first because I refused to run the streets again with a baby. So in other words, your lifestyle is place to place, never know where you're going to be. I can't have a little kid involved in that, so I can't be with you. This is Susie Bogdal, not the woman in the hospital, a different woman. And his response at 3 p.m., during the same time, so Olivia's saying, hey, I'm on my shift, and he's saying, come over, stay over. He says to Susie Bogdal, we can do it quick as fuck. I just got to grip a steamer or two. It's a phrase you learned in this courtroom, I bet. Grip a steamer. I just have to steal a car or two and get a job. Interesting order. The car theft has to come before the job, evidently. I'm going to steal a car or two and get a job. So we know at 3, while he's having these conversations with Olivia, he is telling one of the women he's interested in and wants to be with, I need to steal a car or two. Is it any surprise that in the next couple hours, the next few hours, he is questioning Olivia McKay? Well, how are you going to get here? And ultimately she says, from Bristol, I have a car. So now he knows what he might be netting is a keeper, doesn't he? Now he knows that who he might be netting might be exactly what he's been telling Susie Bogdala is the plan. And so now what happens next? This woman, Olivia, the 17-year-old, has dropped literally into his situation. And as he tells Tamaray, the woman in the hospital, a few hours after Olivia is dead, he says, this is the attitude he has, this is the life I choose. The defendant says, this is the life I choose. And this is what 17-year-old Olivia McKay is now facing. So he keeps all his options open, doesn't he? He has already told her his address, or at least the street corner, that it's his grandmother's house. He's told her a lot of details. And so if he is going to take her car, if her car is worth his crime, if he's not going to be detected, ladies and gentlemen, she will have to die. going to have to die. He's told her too many things. If he were to just grab her car, carjack her now, the police would be on him in 15 minutes. He's not an idiot. Now if he's going to take her car, if he's going to do exactly what he told Susie Bogdala is on the agenda, as soon as fuck, he said is when this is going to happen. Now here we are, 7 hours later, pretty soon. If that's what he's going to do, she will have to die. And so what does he do? He conditions Olivia for just that situation to be available to him. What does he say to her? He says, not only the freaky part, so think about 17-year-old Olivia. Somebody begins to be romantic to you, and now they do something out of the ordinary. Well, if you're Olivia, you were warned, right? He said he gets freaky, so maybe this is just how he wants to be with me. All the early stages, right? He's conditioned her for this. What else does he tell her? He says, well, do you mind if we go to the beach for a while? He's going to put her in a remote place. So his options are going to be open. Maybe I will kill her at my grandma's house at the point my grandma leaves. That's a private place. And then I'll be able to I'll be able to get away with this. Or maybe it'll be a remote location. Because Olivia is up for either of those, based on what he has communicated to her before he ever meets her. And this is not Jamari. This is the defendant who has done all the lifting, all the work that we have talked about so far. The defendant admits that Olivia came to him, that she was driving a car, a four-door car. Olivia McKay sent her last text at 10:37 p.m. on July 23rd. It was about going to Chinatown with her close friend. She never answered the reply text a few minutes later. And on that beach, across from the bandshell, by a little pond of water, 17-year-old Olivia McKay lost her life. And what you know, undisputed, is that she died strangled to death. And what you also know is that then, whoever did that to her did not have the strength to carry her. He dragged her body from where he ended her life, and he took her to the vehicle that was her own. You know that the defendant decided that car was just plain good. I like this car. And so the plan was on. And you know from the rest of the evidence in this case that the defendant brought with him on a date garbage bags and hospital gloves. No date has ever been a good plan with hospital gloves and garbage bags. The defendant is going from his grandma's place where he is staying. The plan is that he will go back to his grandma's house where he is staying. He needs no backpack. He needs no garbage bags. He needs no gloves, except to end her life. And to know ahead of time that that is on the agenda. That's the only reason that those items are with you. But he doesn't have the strength to carry her body. So when she is dead, and let's talk about that for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need an ounce of strength to end Olivia's life on that night. Because Olivia has been told in a lie that the defendant is going to meet somebody to collect money. And oh, we're waiting for him, so let's go and enjoy the beach. Can you imagine, Olivia? This man likes me. We're on a romantic beach. The surf, the wind, it's like every romantic card anybody's ever seen, the romantic movies. He's close to me. He's hugging me. Jamari says they were hugging. She thinks he's coming in for the kiss or affection. It takes not an ounce of strength to get behind her and squeeze. And there would be that indecision for her, right? Not only the shock of never, ever in her naive life seeing this coming, but also the idea that maybe this is the freaky, maybe this is, I don't want to ruin this as her life expires. And before she knows, she's too far gone. And no strength is necessary. But once you've done the act, Olivia McKay is not somebody you can lift. Jamari Cook, 350 pounds, a very large man, could lift Olivia McKay. He could take her from that beach and carry her if he needed to a vehicle. But this defendant can't do that. So she's dragged. And what did the medical examiner tell you? He told you that all of the scrape injuries on her are on the front side of her body. And Jamari told you she was dragged by her foot by the defendant, who had a lot of effort. It was hard for the defendant. Jamari told you she was dragged on the front of her body. The medical examiner even told you there were linear injuries to her consistent with being dragged. And that's how the defendant got her to her own car, where she was placed in. Now, Jamari Cook is along. And under usual circumstances, a reasonable jury would say, well, that's a planned kill. If you meant to privately kill someone, if you meant to get away with it, if that was the defendant's plan, when Jamari showed up, certainly you would end that plan. You would say, okay, this is not happening. But you got a chance to see Jamari Cook. And what you know from the testimony and evidence in this case is that for Daniel Tate, the defendant, the presence of Jamari Cook was absolutely a non-factor. So why am I able to say that? I'm able to say that because Jamari Cook and the defendant identified themselves as best friends. And Jamari Cook is truly a broken young man. Something's broken there. You know that by the lack of emotion he has about all this. You know that by the text communications between these two after this deed was done. Talking about back troubles and bug bites within hours of Olivia's life ending and them taking her body to receipt. You also know that Jamari's the guy who, if you, Daniel Tate, the defendant, have burned every bridge of your family, and so no one in your family will let you sleep over, and has burned every friend bridge, and so no friend will let you sleep over, if you, Daniel Tate, the defendant, are going to have to sleep in a car or outside, Jamari Cook is the guy who, even if he has a warm bed available, out of loyalty and friendship, is a guy who would go to where Daniel Tate was and also endure the cold. So Daniel Tate knows Jamari Cook is a guy who has a demonstrated track record of making sacrifices of his own well-being and livelihood to help out Daniel Tate. Daniel Tate knows this. So when Jamari Cook is along, he doesn't change his plan at all. But you know that's a late-breaking development because in the texts, in the Facebook Messenger between the defendant and Olivia, the defendant brings up, hey, at the last second, do you mind if my guy comes with? And she says, sure. You also know it's a late-breaking development because no gloves are available for Jamari Cook. The only person who wears gloves during the disposal of Olivia is the defendant. If the defendant knew Jamari was going to be along, or if Jamari knew he was coming along, there'd be two sets of gloves. So, this plan is not interrupted in any way because Jamari Cook gets in there. He's involved in the, at the last second. But Jamari Cook has told you he saw it all. He saw what happened. And so, Jamari Cook on August 3rd is interviewed by law enforcement. And certainly Jamari Cook is very clear that his first instinct in this case has been the same instinct he's had every day since the moment he saw this happen. I will protect my friend. And he told you very plainly that he lied in this case initially in front of his moms to try to protect the defendant. But then investigators tell him some very specific things. And the most important thing to Jamari Cook that he hears is that Daniel Tate is on the beach and that he is telling investigators what happened. Now, why am I wanting to be so precise about that? Because the investigators don't tell Danny Tate, like you've seen on the TV shows, hey, just so you know, Daniel Tate, the defendant, is telling on you, Jamari Cook, so you better come clean here. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that Daniel Tate is blaming Jamari Cook for what happened. They say just enough to Jamari Cook that Jamari thinks Daniel Tate is telling the truth. That Daniel Tate is admitting to law enforcement now, just like he said earlier in the day, I'm going to turn myself in, that he is thinking, I'm going to tell them what happened. It never occurs to Jamari Cook that Daniel Tate would blame a third party, Andrew Crom, who wasn't even there, or Jamari Cook never even occurs to him that Daniel Tate will say that Jamari did it. He assumes that Daniel Tate is telling what happened and that Daniel Tate himself strangled Olivia McKay. And now what Jamari focuses on is, I'm not going to be somebody who snitches on Daniel Tate if I can help it, and I don't want to have any part of this. If Daniel Tate's going to tell him that he did this, that's fine. Let me see how I can just keep myself out. And for a little while longer, he talks about, yeah, he did get together with Olivia, but does not say that he was present for the strangulation. Ultimately, having been urged by his moms to tell the truth, having been asked by law enforcement to tell the truth, Jamari Cook begins to tell much more of the story. But again, what he tells is completely dependent on what he's being asked. All right? So, if you're asked about a particular event, and somebody just says, tell us what happened, you're going to give a description of the thing, of someone, of what happened, but it's not going to be everything. It's not going to be every single thing that happened. And then people will ask you direct questions. All right? I went on a cruise once. And people, when I came back, of course, said, how was the cruise? And I didn't give them a day for day. Here's what happened on Monday. Here's what happened on Tuesday. Here's what happened when I was on the boat, when I got off the boat. I didn't do that. I gave them a general summary. And then occasionally people would ask me a specific question. Where'd you do any scuba diving? Well, at that point I would focus on scuba diving, and I would talk about it. Did you buy anything? Okay, now I'm going to focus on shopping. So I started talking about that. A person asked me about a particular cathedral and whether I had visited it, and I had. But I never thought to bring the cathedral up until I was asked that specific question. And that's how almost all of us respond to events in our life. Whether they're horrible or great events, that's the way we tell as human beings things that happen. Sometimes a general account, sometimes in response to a question. And I suggest to you that's essentially the process that happened with Jamari Cook after he decided, here's what I'm going to be able to tell. I'm going to tell the truth. Okay. So I want to contrast that very briefly with Daniel Tate. All right? To try to determine whether Daniel Tate is an innocent man, falsely accused, and whether the interview he gave has any consistency with that. What Jamari does is talk about things, and I'm going to talk in a second about which of those things are able to be confirmed by specific pieces of evidence in this case. What the defendant does is blanket denial, then confronted about certain evidence, then only admitting those things he thinks might be confronted, then confronted again about the possibility of evidence, then again admitting because he's been confronted, and then finally deciding outrageously to blame another person on this planet for a murder. An identified person who he's had a long-standing grudge with, who came into this courtroom and immediately told you, I have no idea, who law enforcement officers could provide no connection at all to Olivia, and whose grandfather, without ever knowing why the call was being made, immediately was able to verify his whereabouts and that he was working. Now, you could be scared. You could be an innocent guy who's got a whole set of problems because people are talking to you about a murder. Sure. Does anyone on this jury seriously believe if you were innocent of an offense, that the way you would handle that would be to identify a particular person you know and blame them for a serious crime? That that's how you would handle something if you were an innocent man or woman? I submit that that's where your common sense can take you in your decision about whether the defendant, in fact, is conscious of his own guilt and acts in that way for that reason alone. All right. So I just want to suggest to you that there were a number of questions by the defense about things that they pointed out they felt could have been done in this investigation. All right? And one of the things that you likely know, and that you certainly is in your common sense, is that both parties have the ability to obtain evidence that they think is important. So certainly the defense has no burden of proof. They have no obligation whatsoever to do that, but either party has that possibility available if they wish to do that. If they think it is consistent with either guilt or innocence in a trial. And I would suggest to you, on behalf of the state, that this was an extraordinary investigation. Multiple jurisdictions. You heard the number of search warrants in places that were searched in this thing. You heard the number of subpoenas subpoenas for records or search warrants for records and phones that were looked into in this case. Every time we put something on that thing and it was a transcript of any kind, that was almost always records through subpoenas or search warrants that were done by officers and downloads of phones that were done by officers. That was done numerous times in this case at numerous locations by numerous departments. And I suggest to you in that investigation, there is absolutely no connection between Jamari Cook and Olivia McKay. And yet, the connections between the defendant and Olivia McKay are complete and specific, and they occur minutes and hours before she dies. So I'm going to cover that evidence fairly briefly, but I wanted to basically discuss with you finally in terms of the evidence I believe supports that the defendant is guilty of party to a crime in this case. I want to suggest to you that, with all due respect, that one's eyes would have to be closed to be in a position where this combination of evidence does not end up adding the guilt of either directly committing the murder of Olivia McKay or being someone who was responsible because you were involved in many aspects of it. So, what do we know? Who contacted Olivia McKay through Meet Me? It's the defendant. He literally lures her to the location where this contact is made. We have the garbage bags that Olivia McKay was placed in. When you look at the type of bag, they're not even a common garbage bag, right? They're outdoor kind of leaf type bags, but certainly being used for garbage bags in the home of the defendant's grandmother. Same type of bag, same size of bag, same coloration of the tabs of an open box of those bags in the kitchen cupboard, or under the kitchen cupboard, under the kitchen sink, of the grandma where the defendant was staying the day he would have put together his murder kit. Those gloves and that bag. So what about these gloves? The other part of the murder kit. So we traced bags that are a physical match in terms of color and size to the defendant in terms of the murder bag. So what about gloves if they were part of the murder bag? Well, yes. At the search warrant of the grandma's house, in the room that the defendant was staying in when his murder bag would have been collected, in fact, right next to the couch the defendant sleeps on, are a pair of gloves that are turned inside out. They've been used. And they are the same color gloves, apparently, as Jamari Cook tells us before he has an opportunity to see those gloves. They're the same color gloves that he tells us the defendant wore. Are they at Jamari Cook's home? No. They're at the defendant's place where he was staying before this murder, where Olivia came to pick him up. So who is the active party in the car sale after? Well, again, it's the defendant. You heard numerous contacts from varieties of people where the defendant is the one in charge of the sale. Who on video at that hospital is taking pictures of the vehicle for sale? It's the defendant. And who are all the car sale contacts we have far? I just want to go through these briefly. So, Jocelyn Marie, trying to get a hold of her boyfriend, ultimately does, and I need to get rid of a steamer. This is the defendant's Facebook, and that's the one where he defines a steamer. Helpful to us. He says the steamer is a stolen car. Juan Rodriguez, 2:53 a.m. on the 24th. This is only 2 hours after Olivia's body has been left. The defendant is on Facebook Messenger telling Juan Rodriguez, I'm trying to sell a steamer. Larry Filson, that next afternoon, I got a whip for sale. This is the defendant. Rodney Pettis, 2:33 that afternoon, again, mentioning that there is a vehicle he has for sale, referring to the slang for a stolen vehicle. And of course, Raymond Decker. Raymond Decker, who he said, I just need this gone. If you can find someone to buy it as soon as possible, I'll throw you some cash. And he sends her the pictures of the vehicle. Those are the same pictures in terms of appearance as were taken at the hospital. Okay? So how does this fit with what Jamari Cook has told us? He said that they went to Racine as the location to take Olivia's body. Well, why would you do that? Well, Jamari says the defendant stops him. Jamari's driving. The defendant stops him and says, hey, I got to use Wi-Fi. He gets out, and then he's trying to contact his girlfriend, one of the girlfriends who's in Wheaton Franciscan Hospital in Racine. And we were able to demonstrate for you those contacts, that the defendant tries to call multiple times to Tamaray at the hospital. She doesn't pick up. Then he starts to text her, more and more desperate. By 4:56 a.m., he has a number of contacts with her about, I'll have pictures. Well, we know what pictures is about, no, because he takes those pictures later at the hospital. How much you trying to sell the steamer for? $900 by then. $900. $650 is my lowest. Says the car's basically brand new. So, in his conversations with Tamaray, it's clear she can't let him stay at the hospital. So plan A, which was drive to the hospital, Tamaray will help me get rid of this car. She knows people, she'll help me sell this car. She's having a kid with me, she'll keep my secret. Just like my friend Jamari Cook will, that falls apart. So now I need another plan. I'm the defendant, and I am on a highway like Highway 20. I'm driving towards Wheaton Franciscan Hospital, and now I can't get there. I've gone to a place with Wi-Fi. Now I can't go to Wheaton Franciscan Hospital. But remember, the defendant had a relationship in the summer, just a few weeks earlier, with Raymond Decker, who stayed at Nights Inn in Racine. So the defendant had been living for a few weeks at the Nights Inn in Racine. And remember Raymond Decker's testimony. The way we went to work, because we worked at Wendy's in Kenosha, was we would drive from Nights Inn off of Highway 20, and we would go to H. And then we would come in on H, going to Kenosha from Racine. Well, if you take Highway 20, past the Nights Inn, and you're headed towards H, there's a remote road off to the side, Louis Sorensen Road. And the defendant is the one who would know it. Decker's never even met Jamari Cook until July 24th. Jamari Cook doesn't know this route. The defendant has a plan B because of his prior travels from Racine. So sure enough, they go to that remote road. It's off of a route that the defendant has traveled before, and the body is taken out. And here's where Jamari says gloves are put on by the defendant. And garbage bags are produced from the backpack that the defendant had brought on a date. And Jamari said, I didn't have any gloves. And Jamari told investigators before any fingerprint evidence was back, he said, I am the one who put the bottom bag on Olivia. So where's the fingerprint of Jamari that we find? It's on that bottom bag. Jamari had already told us the defendant put the top bag on. Now he doesn't know that the defendant, he doesn't know what the fingerprint results are yet. Jamari, when he says that to us, has no idea where fingerprints will be located. And at that time, and sure enough, there are no fingerprints at all on that top bag because the defendant's wearing gloves. What Jamari also tells us is Jamari says, while I'm driving the vehicle, and we have prints from when Jamari drove the vehicle without gloves because he's adjusted the mirror. mirror. So his fingerprint is on that mirror. And Jamari had admitted before we knew about those fingerprints that he had driven the vehicle without gloves. So what we also know is that Jamari says, as I'm driving, the defendant strangled women, but he did not strangle me. You heard from two others who said he in fact strangled me. One of them said certainly more than 10 times as part of the sex act. What we know about the defendant from those three separate individuals is that the defendant was interested in strangling women. And that maybe certainly that appears to have had a sexual component for him, but this is something he brought up to multiple partners and engaged in with multiple partners. It was not a one-time or one-person interest. It was a maintained interest over a matter of years. But all of those women that came in and talked about that, all of them, are individuals who he was living with, or had been staying with, or have relationships with their family members as well in terms of connections. He was in some sort of a relationship of some kind with them. If he wanted to take strangulation to some extreme place, he couldn't be with any of those women. He'd never get away with that. But here comes this day, July 23rd. And a man who has demonstrated this interest, time and time again, has an opportunity to be around Olivia Kay. And she lied to the adult in her life about her whereabouts. So there is no one who could save her who knows where she is. No. And now, if you want to take your interest in strangulation to the extreme, here is your opportunity. This is your time. And, ladies and gentlemen, I will submit to you that is a reasonable view of what you have heard in the evidence in this case. This opportunity is here. The defendant appears to avoid arrest. The first time he sees cops, they go someplace else. Jamari comes in with his moms, voluntarily. A contrast in terms of these two and how they're handling this case. Now I want to go through a quick rendition of the details of what happened here. So the defendant comes in and he is being interviewed. He's asked specifically, he's given a chance to show his honesty. He's asked, who's the last woman you found meeting? By the way, he has already canceled his Meet Me account, apparently believing if he cancels it, if he ends it, those records are going to disappear. He says, Zia Lopez. And then he's confronted. Well, wait a minute, there's records, come on. And then finally he says, okay, well, yeah, it was a girl named Olivia. She came over to my house, but she never left. Again, he's confronted. Well, wait a second now. Do you understand? We're going to check different locations. We're going to find out whether her car left. We're going to find out whether anything else. Okay, well, we went to the Van Shell parking lot, but we never got out. So that's story 3, right? But then he's confronted again. And this is not true, but they bluff him. They say, wait a minute, we just want you to know there's been all this graffiti happening at the Van Shell, and so at the Van Shell, we might have cameras. And then right away, he says, okay, well, yeah, we did. Well, Jay and I got out. Jay and I got out, she didn't get out. And then she dropped us off back in the ground. And they go on a while again. They confront him again. That's story number 4, of course. And then, only then, his final story, before he cuts this interview off. His final story, which is Andrew Crum choked her, and he witnessed it. Who else saw it? Jamari saw it. says to the law enforcement officers are that Andrew Crum, while choking her, was saying, "Oh, you stole my lunch money." Maybe an old beef they had from middle school. I don't know. The defendant has deleted his Meet Me account. He's deleted his Facebook messages. Remember that interactions with Tana Ray? And how both Tana Ray had deleted some of her messages and the defendant other ones? Did you see how selective they were? The defendant and she, if they both delete them, by the way, they're gone. So, they were accurate in thinking, hey, deleting them might be of help here. But the defendant says to Tana Ray, within hours of the death of Olivia McKay, within hours of this murder, he says to her, "I have a big secret to tell. But before I can tell you, I need you to swear secrecy on our unborn child. I need to know that you're going to still give me access to our child if I tell you this big secret." Of course, she's really worried, right? He's securing his promises. It's a huge deal, obviously. She keeps bugging him. And he says to her, "You have to promise you won't tell anyone." She promises. These are conversations after the car. Okay, so she's already agreed to help him sell the car. She knows him. She knows he doesn't have a job with a car. So she knows something bad is happening, but she still is hearing him say something more has happened. And he tells her, "This is the life I chose." And ladies and gentlemen, you will hear that in your deliberations. No one can speak more clearly to someone than to say, "This is the life I chose," a few short hours after they have killed someone for their honor. And the last thing I want to leave you with these two broken men, I'm going to suggest to you that Jamari Cook and the defendant are peas in a pod. They are broken men together. Why do I say that? Well, I think that's quite clear when you look at the Facebook Messenger interaction. Going on at the same point, he's telling Tana Ray, "This is the life I choose." At the same point, he's trying to sell this vehicle to multiple parties. The defendant is interacting with the man he has just disposed of the body of Olivia McKay. The defendant and broken Jamari Cook are communicating. Jamari Cook is complaining about his back from the lifting. And the defendant is complaining about the bug bites he got on Louis Sorensen Road. The normality after this death is chipping. It is spine chipping. When man and the defendant are contacting each other also at that time around 4 a.m. During the same time all these other interactions are happening, Amanda Hanneman asks the defendant, and we know he's got his phone because he's in all these other conversations, including ones with Jamar. Amanda Hanneman asks, "What's up?" And he says, "I'm bored as fuck." That's the normality of the hours after Olivia is dead. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to unanimously agree that this defendant directly committed the crime of murder. You don't have to unanimously agree that the defendant assisted in committing that murder. If 6 of you said, "We really believe he directly committed it," and if 6 of you said, really all we know for sure is that he assisted in it, as long as you are unanimous that one of those 2 applies, that would be a verdict of guilt. I respectfully told you, as I asked you to consider this evidence, that your eyes would have to be closed to not see that the defendant is responsible for these crimes in one of those 2 ways. For the members of the jury, your eyes were open, and you will hold this defendant responsible for what happened to naive young Olivia